athletes, welcome back to another amazing episode. And today we are featuring Michelle Mascoto, who is also known as Coach Mascoto, and she has been coaching for over 12 years. She owns a hybrid performance business and method. She went to school for kinesiology, also did grad work in sports psych, and she just loves changing your life, bringing in all the elements that you need to really create you to be your best person and your best self that you can be. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am so honored to be here and just being around your energy and your message and just so thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, tell us about how you got started in this world of athletics. Have you always been an athlete? What's been important to you?
Yeah, so how I kind of got started playing sports, my childhood was really interesting to say the least. I grew up a little bit rough, and I had a lot of interesting things happen to me in my childhood. So the reason why I actually got into a sport, which was basketball is kind of like what saved me, I would say, was my saving grace. I started playing only to get out of my house. Like, it was like my protective space. So when I was in high school was the first time I actually started playing the sport of basketball, and got connected in that. Didn't know what was going to unravel from that. But due to one coach, like believing in me and pouring into me and giving me a different lens and a different perspective, he poured into me like crazy, and that kind of like headshot my career. So then I played in college, and then I actually played overseas, and all of that started like from the roots of just not wanting to really be at home, but it turned into something really, really fantastic. So that's how I actually started playing sports. In college is when I fell in love with, I think, the body and understanding what performance was, because I didn't understand that, growing up. It was just more of like all I knew how to do was to work hard. That's it, because I was never the most talented. I started so late, right? So all I knew was grit and grind. And that's what my focus was. And then it got me in college. And then it started like, I start falling in love with just biomechanics and how the mind and how you like collide those two and what your body is capable of. And then it just kind of opened up all these doors and things that only God could really bring me through, because I didn't think I would make it to Europe. And I didn't think, and it all started with just basketball.
What do you think were the qualities of the coach that really helped you move through this? Because obviously, starting out in sports, having a rougher like home background, it requires a lot of not just like physical support, like this is how you play basketball, but a lot of emotional support to help you grow into even a great adult. Do you bring those coaching elements in now? What parts of that have you kept?
That's such a great question. He was like a mentor, like a father figure that I didn't have. And the emotional support wasn't really him diving completely into everything that was going on at home. It was more, he knew that it wasn't good at home, and he gave me time. Like, he gave me quality time. He believed in me. He gave me tough love, like when I needed it. And he taught me how to control my emotions and how to use things that were negative and how to use them for a positive reinforcement within, my sport. And naturally what comes with that is like learning discipline, learning how to be, selfless, learning how to communicate, which was really hard for me because I didn't come from a place of good communication. So all of those things were implemented, and then practice. And, with reps and practice, we know it makes it permanent, right? So those are the things that he taught me. And it was mainly support and him believing in me when I was feeling like helpless and hopeless. And so that's what I have naturally been drawn to help other people, to take them from where they're at to where they want to go. And I think it started when that coach really laid down some easy foundations. And he was like that little voice in my head that kept reminding me, but also pulling my head out of my butt when I needed it pulled out, you know what I mean? And that's what I need to do for athletes too, is like, listen, your feelings are not always the truth. So, and just kind of painting a picture for me when I could not paint it myself.
You 100% keep it real. I mean, that was, there were so many videos that came out with all the push-up form and all that kind of stuff that was happening. And that was originally, it showed up on my feed and I'm like, I love this girl because you kept it real, but you kept it fun. And so you keep this kind of tough love. I'm a coach, like I'm not your best friend, I'm your coach mentality. When you're working with clients and followers, how do you keep helping them find themselves and know when to like give them that tough love and when to kind of give them that more nurturing side? Because it seems like you really try to balance out the two.
That I love the way that you put that because, getting feedback over the years, when I say over the years, like it has taken me a long time to be the coach that I am right now. This is not how I was when I first started coaching. I was more like disciplined, like it took a long time to get to that stage of understanding what people really need. And so it took reps after reps but coaching different personalities and in different environments. And you coach somebody, an athlete who is in an actual sport for performance, their expectations and things like that are a little bit different than a mom of 5 who's had a really rough day and needs to cry it out for a second. And then you need to pull her back in and be like, okay, we're here to work. Like there's a difference in how you coach humans, I would say. So how I balance that out is the athlete's best interest is the most important thing at the end of the day. And there's so much noise on the outside that you have as a coach, being a sounding voice for them and being as honest and truthful in a loving way, to me, when their best interest is at heart, is the most important thing. There's too much nonsense. There's too much fluff out there. And I think people value when you're vulnerable, but you're also authentic. And people over the years have known that about me. They've known like she's going to give you the tough love, but she's also when she's nourishing, she's nourishing. And you can read it. You can read it off of people and what they need. So I do think understanding personalities is an important thing, but you have to understand yourself more as a coach first in order to actually get to a space where you can learn about other people and exactly what they need. I would say, because I've been through a lot of really hard times, going through that has taught me more patience and compassion with people when they deal with actual life. And that's where I fell in love with the mindset and how to deal with things emotionally and things like that, so that when I'm in a gym environment or wherever, or I'm on a call, or they just need me, I know when to sit with somebody and let them pour out. And then I know when to be like, okay, we poured out, what is next? Like, let's do something about it. And that's honestly has taken a lot of reps with coaching, it's taken a lot of practice. It's taken a lot of studying of books, but also just being okay with learning about people and having a heart for people. Like, what are you really coaching? Like, what's the purpose that you're coaching? What is your statement? Like, how real are you being with people? Like, do you actually care about people? And if you do, you'll understand when somebody needs to be pushed and when they need to be pulled back. And the same thing goes emotionally and physically in a gym as well. I think athletes sometimes are pushed when their body's not ready to be pushed. And you as a coach, it's your responsibility to separate those two and be like, listen, I know you want to get here, but from what I see, your body's not ready. It's the same thing from a emotionally, spiritually, position as well.
You talked a lot about like just the obstacles that you've went through in your life. And as you've worked with amazing gyms, you've also are working on creating your own brand and your own identity as a coach and all of these things, as well as kind of as a childhood. So can you walk us through like just some of those obstacles and really the not just the mindset tricks, but the other things that you have put in place in your life that has helped you through those difficult obstacles?
Absolutely. So I'll just give you like, we don't have to go into like super detail of the childhood, which I don't mind. It's just, girl, I don't think we got enough time for that, you know? But, I do think that everybody has a story, and it brings you to the, where you're at right now. Right. And my story is what has driven my purpose, and the struggles is what has brought perspective to my life. So, as a kid, I don't really have any parents right now. So, or I haven't, I would say. So I went through a sexual abuse thing when I was 5, and then I was taken away from my mother. She's mentally ill, owned by the state of California. So she hasn't been in my life since I was 8. Then I was in foster care, so kind of moving around a little bit, kind of a lot of confusion there. And then they found my father, and I got introduced to this family, but my father was very, very absent, sort of say, from he wasn't very supportive. It was very like verbally I don't want to say, verbally like abusive. It was non-existent, right? And now he's unfortunately going through his own issues of addiction and all of that. So he's not in my life, right? So that already plays a huge, huge, huge role of just betrayal, rejection, all of those things, right? So fast forward, it's taken me a long time to heal from all of that, which I am now, which I've healed from all of that, right? I had to go through my own discovery of who I am without coaching, without playing a sport, because I think people get lost in identity. And for me, that is God. So my ground is God. And I found, God, and built my relationship up with him over the years. And so if you don't have that grounding understanding, it's very hard to walk into your purpose. That is my opinion, right? But fast forward to like adulthood, right? I did go through a phase that knocked me to my knees, where I kind of lost everything through an expansion of like 6 months. And it was, I lost my job as a coach during a regional season. So in CrossFit, when you are a coach and if you lose your job in running a gym, you don't have any potential jobs, because it's almost like everything goes on pause. It's like the Olympics, right? So that happened. And then I was training for regionals during that time. So on a regionals team, got injured. So my love for like fitness just got kind of stripped away. I was like on crutches for a while. And then I lost everything in a fire in my apartment. So like I lost everything, all that I loved, all that I knew. That was the pivotal point of where my relationship really grew with Christ. And since then, that was probably maybe like 7 years ago, like my coaching style changed, everything changed. It became a huge pivotal shift for me in maturing as a coach. And it really humbled me. But those were some of the obstacles that like, as an adult, I went through. From a business perspective, man, being a coach it's not easy. It's a hustle. So it is a hustle. So I mean, like working at, 5 gyms at one time, and you're driving around coaching. I went through a time where it's like, I was so hungry to get better for coaching. Like my people, my clients, my athletes were always my why. Like, how can I have this knowledge so I can help them? So there was a period where I was just interning at universities under strength and conditioning coaches, like begging like weightlifting seminars for me to just go and watch and stand next to coaches. And I did that all the time, not getting paid. So I went through like this season of, I don't know how I'm going to eat, but like, I'm still going to the seminar to learn, and to me, when you're that hungry to be successful at something, that's what takes you from good to great, is doing stuff that is, you don't get that reward right away. It's almost like, taking those risks and things like that. Another risk I took was leaving California I'm on my 5th year, to Houston, was where I'm currently at now, to help open up this business that I was totally unsure of, in the sense of the area. I never wanted to be in Houston. I didn't, and taking a risk that way. And I'm here by myself, and taking risks that make you absolutely uncomfortable, to me, have been the biggest reward. Like going overseas, huge risk by myself. And although it's cool, you still learn to take risks. And I've just learned that the more you take risks, the more opportunity you have. And it doesn't matter if it's a risk from starting on the couch of you being super overweight to being like, I'm just going to start. That's a risk for somebody, right? Mm-hmm. Walking into a gym is a huge risk for some people, like feeling judged or whatever it is. Like there's so many risks, you take trying out for a team, for an athlete, whether it's NBA or whatever it is a huge risk, not knowing the outcome. And so I'm really big on that. So all the risks that I've taken that might have shown me some rejection, whatever, have built resilience in me to where it's got me to this point right now. You know what I mean?
Yes. You had kind of all flowing together there. I think one of the biggest things that you said, though, is this idea of heal, take risks, leap into action. And I think so often people negate this heal part. So the reason I love you talk about your journey and you're sharing what that's been like, because you have healed from that. And there's always continuous healing, and it's always checking back in and making sure that there's not new things that are cropping up and, beliefs, but you heal, then you take risks, then you jump into action. And so many people, they want to ignore this healing. They want to ignore setting up their belief system. They want to ignore their mindset, whatever it is. And they want to take risks, but they're taking a reckless risk because they haven't healed. So they're bringing all this old sludge and damage in with them.
Yes. I really believe I have this, this mantra. It's called pursue the process. And whatever process you need to go through, do not skip, don't skip the alphabet. You can't go from A to Z. You have to go from A to B, B to C, C to D, all the way through. But as humans, we get a little bit impatient. And that's the reality of us as humans. So that's why having a coach, someone that can pull you in and be that accountability for you, to me, is really important, because they can pull you out of your own little rat race, if you will, pull you out, give you some perspective. And to me, it's so important to not skip out on the process. And I think of it, I've always started understanding the process when I got injured, when I was overseas and I got injured, because that's what brought me home. And with an injury, and I'm really in love with the post recovery of an athlete that's been injured, because there's a crazy process that happens.
Yes, me too.
Right? Like a crazy process. And so I like to walk athletes through that. But not only is there a process of what you need to do to the area that's been injured physically, but mentally you have to go through this insane process, right? And so that's how everything is lined up. Like, you're not going to be able to come out of surgery from an injury the next day and be like, I'm going to start running sprints, or I'm going to start doing cuts again, or whatever it is, right? I'm going to go and just hop under a barbell and start squatting, whatever it is. You don't do that. That's negating the entire process. Like, I get that you want to think you're superhuman. It's cool. But the reality is everything is in a process. And it's the same thing with your mind too, you know? So I really just believe in, if you pursue the process and you deal with the stuff that you truly don't want to deal with, and you go through that, I'm telling you, the longevity of your results is insane. Like, you can come back 20 times stronger, because most of the time when we sit in that mess that we're in and what it feels like, that's where the most miraculous things happen, because you have to deal with stuff that you've been avoiding forever. And when athletes get injured, they have to figure out how to who they are. Because most of us as athletes, that's what we do is who we are, which is false. So an injury will have to take that away from you, right? And you have to be like, okay, who am I? Like, who am I? And now let's take it to the everyday person. Let's take it to a mom who has been a mom for the last 13 years, completely lost herself, but she only can think about herself as being a mom. No, who were you before that happened? And when you start to unravel all that, you realize there's so much junk like within here and here. And then that's a great time to take people through the process. So girl, I'm all about pursuing every process you need to do to untap that potential of who you really are, like to unleash it.
One of our statements at Mobility Athletes is I am an athlete. And we believe in teaching people how to embrace that, but also teaching even athletes at the highest level. What does that mean? It doesn't mean you have to go win. It doesn't even necessarily mean that you have to go take the competition floor. Like, to me, to us here, it means I fuel my body to help it move. It means I move my body in different ways every day to challenge it and accept it. It means I take care of my mind so that I can influence others and build my team and build myself. Like, all of those things have nothing to do, like what you said, with an outcome. They have nothing to do with, taking the game-winning shot or anything like that. Make it or miss it, you're still the same person if you identify that way. And I think injuries, like you said, I'm obsessed with taking athletes through injuries because it gives them this opportunity to rediscover themselves. And the people that do the work, man, they show up on the other side, and it's insane.
It really is. It's phenomenal. It really is. And I personally have gone through the process too. And then just helping others through that process is really cool. And I mean, now I work with a lot of just everyday people, right? And the hopeless, the helpless. And I'm like, no, like, you don't have to walk around like that. But you're gonna have to like unravel some stuff. Okay. Like, I'm very like real but fun with it at the same time, and then we'll cry together and we'll celebrate together. And you can be a savage in the gym and just be a savage in the gym. Yep. And that's okay. You don't have to, like you said, like go here and there, but you do it because you love it. And that's why I love what I do, in giving people like that other option. Most people will be like, oh yeah, I used to play, sports in high school, and then they completely let themselves go. Yes. And I was like, your body was designed to keep moving for the rest of your life, right? I know, right?
That was
your
my
body
story.
Really?
Oh yeah. I was an athlete in high school. I was fairly good runner, and opted not to run in college and just to focus on becoming a physical therapist. That's what I knew I wanted to do. I knew I had to make really good grades to be able to stay at the university. I was first generation college, and so I knew what I had to do, and I opted to stay out. But instead of like still feeling empowered to move, I sat around and like, it didn't take care of my body. It didn't take care of my mind. I was miserable. I remember my dad telling me all the time, like, you need to just go for a run. You need to go to the gym. You need to do something. I'm like, you don't understand my life. I'm so busy. And what I discovered then later, I went through and, still going through a journey of infertility, and with my husband and I, and finally in that, kind of like how you talked about your injury, for me, I was like bottom of the barrel. I've never hated my body more. Like, it was rejecting me on every single level. And so I started to train for triathlon, and I trained, and crossing the finish line for that first triathlon was the first time in years that I was like, I'm really proud of what my body's capable of doing. And then it built from there. And I think, and again, that for me then gave me the outlet to start healing myself. And then that allowed us then to pursue adoption, be able to adopt my son, and do that from a place of healing, personal healing and growth. And I just think people skip steps, and they skip identifying who they are. They skip finding themselves in athletics or in movement or in fitness. It's not about aesthetics. It's not about the way that you look. It's just respecting your body and what it's capable of. It's pretty amazing.
Your body, I'm really big on your body and your mind have to be on the same page. And most of us, which it's like a double-edged sword, right? Because most of us will start in a gym. We will not start fixing our mind first, which is great. It's a good starting point. But here's where the double-edged sword comes into play, is I think there's overkill in the gym. And so they have these hot bods, but they're a hot mess.
Love that. Oh my gosh, that's like tagline. If you're a hot bod but a hot mess, I'm your coach.
I am your coach, okay? Because listen, I'm all about, if you want a hot bod, like I'm all about it. I'm all about, if it's performance you want, cool, let's get you stronger. If it's a hot bod you want, by all means, but make sure your mind is in check. So it's just interesting because I think in the gym is where it starts, right? And if people allow for, because look at what the gym does. And this is what I love about being an athlete. The gym, if you're looking at it from the good that comes from it, if you actually deal with everything on the inside, it helps you build confidence. It helps you love your body again. It creates discipline. It creates consistency. You're back in a schedule. Your body is thanking you. You start eating typically a little bit better. So now you're feeding yourself differently. Your energy's high. You're happier. And now it's just a ripple effect, right? That's the reality of why movement is so important. It doesn't really, there's so many different ways people can get in shape. Like me, you'll never see me run long distance. That's not my cup of tea. And I'm okay. I am okay with that. And I clap for those that love it, because movement comes in all shapes. There's so many different ways to move, right? So you have to find what really works for you as a human. And as long as it's well-rounded and you connect your mind to that healing process, like, to me, the possibilities are super endless. And so going into like how I got I'm Possible is, I love working with those that feel lost in the beginning and feel helpless, and watching that transformation unfold, and for them not even realizing it's them that's doing it. Like, I'm not doing much except giving them the tools, right? And for those that take those tools and use it, it's just like, I'm like in awe, like watching them, like just even smile more. And it's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? But we sometimes get stuck in our own way, in our own head. And it's my job to pull you out, you know?
I think you had some great points about the gym, and also like when you start creating those things and that energy goes out into the universe, and you start attracting people to you that are like that too. So you start attracting, like, even let's say somebody that hasn't connected with you or with me, and they just start going to the gym. Then they start listening to cool podcasts like Mobility Athletes Radio, and then they find you.
It's true.
And you just keep piecing together this great life. And before you know it, you look around and nothing is recognizable, and it's better than anything you ever dreamed.
Yes.
Pretty freaking incredible. One of the other things that, it brought up for me is, as adults, I think there is not a lot to clap for sometimes. So when you're young, it's like, oh my gosh, you got an A. We're really proud of you. Oh my gosh, you were on a sports team. You guys won the game. We're really proud of you. Or whatever it is, like, you learned how to play a musical instrument. You got first chair. We're really proud of you. When we morph into adulthood, the main thing that we judge that on is our job. Like, oh, good job, you got a promotion. Oh, good job, you got a new job. You got a new certification. Most of the time, people don't even clap for that. And
you're like, a what?
Yeah. So I talk about this all the time in my marriage. My husband and I joined CrossFit together 3 years ago. He was not into triathlon. He's kind of like you. Like, he ran distance in high school, absolutely no desire in adulthood. And we loved it, but it allowed me to have something to clap for him for. And it allowed him to have a goal. And fitness is really cool in that way, that what you get out of it is what you, and that's pretty incredible to have something that legitly like put into it and it's going to give it right back to you, almost equal most of the time. And I think people just negate that's there.
I think it's you make like a really good point. One of my favorite things about coaching all different sorts of niches, because I'm not a coach that sticks to one niche. I'm like, no, I don't care if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, like, let's go. It's all about becoming better at any stage of your life, about any season, right? So the beauty about those style of gyms that I love is you get to clap. It doesn't matter if they're a beginner jumping on a box for the first time, somebody getting a muscle up for the first time, or somebody just straight up being consistent in class 7 days a week, or like, it doesn't matter, or like learning how to meal prep for the first time, or overcoming like a fear of standing in front of the class because they hate their body so much, or it doesn't matter, but the celebrations like never lose the value. And people and adults, they start to become more childlike again, which is beautiful to see in a community style gym. Is like, you just start to see like all of the heaviness or all of the insecurities or all of the things that we have developed over the years, you just start to see that stuff kind of dwindle down naturally without even having one-on-one time with them yet. But you just start to see it naturally dwindle down. If you're in a good community, this is what happens, right?
Yes.
Because there are some that are like, you know what I'm saying, which we will not, yeah.
Let's ignore
But
that.
if you're, but that's why it's important to make sure you're in a great community where everyone is treated the same, and everyone is always celebrated, from a first double under to finally even jumping on a 45-pound plate when they haven't jumped in I don't know how long, whether kicking up on the wall for a first time, whether even holding a barbell because they're so fearful, whatever it is, that is, to me, awesome. And to actually, for people to find joy in fueling their bodies that way, because it's not about killing yourself every day. It's not about laying flat on the ground in it, after a workout. It's not about that. It's about people treating their bodies as if it's a temple. Like, this is your gift, right? And you take care of it. And for people to feel younger again, and to people to like have joy within that, to me, is one of the most beautiful parts about coaching. I'm seeing them walk in as this helpless, like, I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, and watching their life completely transform. And it's an incredible process to watch. But you as a coach, when you are with them every step of the way, and even getting through times where they're crying on the floor because they have so much stress in their lives, that it comes out in the workout floor. That's why I love the gym environment. Is there's so much that people carry now, right? And we're in this world now where it's like this. But having breakthroughs like that, to me, it feels incredible versus like a game-winning shot for me at this stage in my life. Like the high that I get from that, from knowing what I'm doing is impacting somebody, and it's making them get to the gym and have that experience that is going to ripple effect to somebody else that I may never meet, is worth all of it. Because it's all about planting seeds at the end of the day. It's all about empowering people to do what is already inside of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's the true meaning of empowerment. It's for me not to tell them what to do all the time. It's like, no, it's to give them tools and have them like start to think and heal for themselves and stuff like that. That's the true beauty of coaching, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. And they say the best coaches are honestly the ones that usually get the least amount of praise, because they're the ones that are constantly celebrating the wins, and they know what they did, but they also are so, I guess, aware that all they did was light a fire in someone else. All they did was hand them a tool, but they built that house, And
yes, and Yes. And you know what's really cool is like when an athlete would come up and thank me, I'm like, listen, I need to tell you something. I did nothing.
Yes.
Like that was you because you made the decision. Like you there's people that we've come in contact with, I'm sure. You give them all the tools and they stay stuck.
Yes.
Listen. So I try to bring that out. People like, no, hats off to you because you took those steps. Like you dug deep a little bit. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
It's so important as coaches to remain humble in that.
Yes. You were supposed to do a huge talk on women empowerment last weekend, and unfortunately it got canceled because, we're in the midst of the corona, which
Rona.
Dang it.
Dang it.
But tell us about the message that you wanted to share there. What is it? We have done so much, but what is it that you wanted to share with women and really that word empowerment? What does that mean to you?
So this was a women's empowerment convention, if you will, or a day, and it had a panel of women on it, and it was to celebrate Women's History Month. So it was pretty awesome, and I was honored to be asked to be a part of it and only talk about strength, and to talk about strength from a mental perspective, emotional perspective, and then a physical perspective. That is, to me, the word that has literally defined my life. Well, I think it aligns with perseverance, right? And resilience. So sharing my story of, and to me, the importance of strength and choosing to be strong when I needed to choose to be strong and doing something about it, to me is my perception of what strength is. Empowerment to me is very individual, and somebody has to give me the power to empower them. The reason why I like engage in speaking engagements is because my story might allow somebody to feel empowered to do something about their story and to do something about their life and to realize that they already have it in them. And I have this big theory or this big understanding that, one, you never underestimate the power of a strong woman. That is fierce, but that is within all of us once we go through the healing process. And to me, that takes a whole other step of like courage and strength, right? Is to be able to deal with that. But now put in like an empowered woman, it's one of the most unstoppable things. It doesn't mean you're numb to things. It means you've learned how to allow resilience into your life and then take action. That's like the strength part. It's like the action part of not avoiding hurt, not acting like it's okay all the time, like recognizing where you're at in your season and realizing that showing quote unquote weakness is a silly concept, and that's kind of like what I was going to share at the conference, or at the convention or day or speech, was that we all have strength within us. We really do, but it's something that you have to choose. Strength doesn't just naturally happen. Physically, it does not. Mentally, it does not. Emotionally, it does not. And there is an understanding of acknowledging what you're going through and then taking action on that acknowledgement. That's the true strength. What are you going to do about it, right? But I think as females, and I love me females, okay? But I do think we are emotional creatures.
Yes.
And I think because we feel entitled to those emotions, which you do, we add too much truth and we speak those truths, which end up being like lies over our life, and we get stuck. So what was meant to be a temporary season, right, becomes a permanent position. And I ain't about that. That is not how we were created to be. Yep. And also implementing the fact that strength takes time. Physically, it takes time. It takes time emotionally. It takes time mentally. And it comes in different elements, and it comes in different ways, you know? And I think it's important for women to remember and to understand that, like, we are amazing creatures, like how we can, the things that we can handle, even our bodies can handle, and how we can have like muscle development, but then also carry a child and deliver it. And I just think women like are amazing. I think we really are. But I do think that we get stuck in this sulking period of feeling sorry for ourselves, like victim thinking, all of that, thinking that you aren't good enough and all of that. And that comes down to not choosing to deal with stuff that you should have dealt with 20 years ago. So now we're kind of creating our own battles. And we think because we're suppressing it, we're choosing strength. And I don't agree with that. I disagree with that because I know what suppression does. I did it for a long period of my life. And I may have appeared strong on the outside, but I was broken as broke on the inside. And it wasn't until I learned how to face what was really going on. That's where my strength started to mature. You know, that's where it started to kind of create this canvas of who I was and what strength really meant and how I can help other people. And so that's what I was going to be talking about at that seminar, was to try to pull that out of women, you know, and to really to get over some things. I think sometimes we need to get over ourselves a little bit in order for us to like move forward. And you know, of course, the physical part of being strong to me is so important, because I think when you're physically strong, you walk a little bit taller, your posture is a little bit better, you smile a lot more because you're physically stronger. So I think of the physical component is just as important as like the mental and emotional component. So it's like, to me, that's why they should all be working together. It's like synergy, like everything needs to be working as one. So
I think we just forget that the structure, kind of like what we've talked about this whole time, the structure of a gym, the structure of fitness, you get a coach, you have a program. For those people that are like really into fitness, there's periodization, there's these growth cycles, there's a beginning phase, there's the next thing, there's goals, there's all these processes that you're moving through. There's also what you talked about, boundaries, meaning that you're not ready to do a muscle up yet. Your body kind of physically blocks that. But we forget that in emotional healing. We forget that in communication with others. We forget to empower ourselves, that it's okay to, you know, set those boundaries for ourselves emotionally too. And I think all of that becomes so great. And I love what you shared, that fitness just helps develop that patterning that then we can overlay with every aspect of our life. If you're building fitness for longevity, you can build mindset for longevity. You can build nutrition for longevity. You can build all of it.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting is this is what I see happen often in gyms, of where they're not using things to their advantage. Rushing progress, which I'm sure you see it a lot in mobility athlete, is and I'm all about like, no, like go through the process, you know.
Yep.
When you rush your progress, you hit like the stagnant period for a very, very long time. And then you start implementing really bad habits, because now you're forcing yourself in positions that your body's simply not ready for. Here's what I've learned though, is people have this misconception that if they don't do it right the first time, they're a failure. I'm like, what are we trying to prove right now? Like, what are you trying to prove? And so you see a lot of instances where somebody wants to even deadlift a specific weight, right? I've had to put my foot on a barbell and say, tell me why it's important for you to deadlift this weight this much today. If you have a good reason, great. Until then, you are not breaking your back on my clock, you know, because I think we lose sight of why strength and conditioning is there, why performance is there, why progressive overload is there, like why this is all there, like what is it for, like what is the purpose of it. right? Yes, it's to explore your body and value the process of it. But there is a process. That means you don't walk into a gym and be like, I'm going to deadlift 400 pounds today when you're not even able to touch your toes yet. Like that does not make any sense, right? So I think if people would kind of maybe work on their self a little bit more and understand, yes, one day they can get there, but maybe you're having a lot of pride and ego issues because you've dealt with failure or rejection or whatever. Everything that you have undealt with comes out in the gym. Everything that you have dealt with comes out in the gym. There's so much mental coaching that goes on in the gym, not even for regular people, elite athletes. They need a sports psychologist. They need, really great coaches. They pull back really good athletes and be like, we're not ready for that yet. But for some reason, as us normal humans, we think we could just go into a gym and do a backflip. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
and I have to like be that. As coaches, we should be that sounding board. Be like, listen, here's the reality. And we can get here, but here's the reality. If you come in and you are 100 pounds overweight, right? And you want to do a pull-up, that is so great. That is so great. Let's put that on the wall. That's what you want to do. However, what is the priority in what you're doing and why is it so important? Is it important for you to lose, 100 pounds to get off medicine? Mm-hmm. Or is the pull-up more important? Which one's more important? Probably the medicine first. Can the pull-up happen eventually? Absolutely. So I think we kind of generate these things like, if I don't hit this, then I'm not going to go through the process. And it's like, well, I think if you focus on the process more, you'll realize so many more things will open up. And then you can start to maybe be more performance driven, right? But I just think when you're skipping the process, you're just missing out on the entire point of even stepping into a gym for the first time. So sometimes it's just reevaluating our priorities and our why and our purpose,
Yes. Pursue that process. Like you said, that's awesome.
Do it. Yes.
All right, girl, we have legit crushed it. I mean, if people aren't raring to go right now, I don't know what else to do for you. But tell me, where can people find you? How can they work with you going forward?
Yes. So please, I'm on Instagram. My Instagram name is Coach_Mascoto. You can email me at impossible or impossibleperformance@gmail.com. My Facebook is Michelle Mascoto. Make sure it's Mascoto. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Those are the places right now as I am rebranding and all of that. But those are the places that you can go to find me. And if you have any questions or whatnot, please reach out to me.
That's awesome. I think we have spent so much time on so many different things. We've really left behind some great messages, pursuing the process, which goes into kind of step-by-step of not skipping steps, healing first, leaping into action, taking risks, but always with that healing in mind, always keeping your truest self up front, finding coaches that empower you and give you so much belief in yourself. And they're always staying humble in that process. But if you could really sum up and leave behind one piece of advice for others that you believe would change their life, what would that piece of advice be?
I would say my biggest piece of advice would be to navigate yourself first and then take action on whatever that alignment is with your purpose. Mm. That's what I would say. If you really want to change your life, like you have to navigate, you have to go down roads you may not want to mentally and emotionally first. Then take action on that, which means either getting people around you that align with your purpose. It's all about alignment. So if you do that, connecting with the right coaches, connecting with the right community, taking those risks. But if you align yourself, you're going to be good. So that's what I would say.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for continuing to seek out your own strength and grow that and inspire others along the way. As you know, it's a very personal journey. And for those people out there that are strong enough to share it as they heal and go through it, they just create exponential change in the world. So I truly want to thank you for that. And thank you for taking the time and sharing your story here. Thank you, mobility athletes, for listening. Thank you for getting fired up. Thank you for taking action in your life. Please go and pursue something crazy and wonderful today, even if it's healing. And don't forget that today your best is enough.